Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Kenney. I use she, her pronouns, and welcome to our webinar on tips and tricks for applying for the IonE Postdoctoral Fellowship Program. I'm the Director of Research and Knowledge Initiatives here at the Institute on the Environment. We call our group KI, so if you hear us refer to that occasionally, Knowledge Initiatives is also our KI group. In addition to directing research here at the University of Minnesota's Institute on the Environment, I'm also an environmental decision support scientist. I really think about how we research and understand and improve the processes and tools that aid really complex environmental decisions and choices, both in public and private sector uh, places. I want to introduce two of the scientists who work as part of our KI group. First, Jennifer Schmitt.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Schmitt. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a senior research scientist in sustainability at IonE. I've been here at the Institute on the Environment since 2011, and my research focuses on environmental impacts in the agricultural and food systems space. I focus on understanding systems of food recovery and food waste, thinking about circulating byproducts back into our production systems and the overall sustainability of our agricultural space. I lead our food system supply chain sustainability, or Foods Cubed research, and that works with consumer-facing companies to help them understand the supply chain environmental impacts of their Scope 3 emissions. Through all my projects, I focus on external partnerships, teamwork, and impact. And hand it over to Nfamara.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nfamara Dampha. I use he, him as pronouns. I have been at IonE since 2022, just a little over 2 years. I am a research scientist in natural capital and ecosystem services at the Institute on the Environment, and sometimes you'll hear us say IonE. And I lead our natural capital project also at the University of Minnesota. My research focuses on the intersection of natural capital accounting ecosystem service assessment and kind of looking at nature smart climate adaptation strategies to build community resilience and boost sustainable development. Overall, I seek to strengthen partnership between the Institute on the Environment and local and international partners to advance these areas of work that I focus on, which is natural capital, ecosystems, and innovative climate solutions to build a sustainable future for all. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Farmer and Jennifer. So we're all joining you from the St. Paul campus of the University of Minnesota. Our campus occupies the traditional, ancestral, and contemporary lands of Dakota people. And it's important to acknowledge the people whose land we live, learn, and work on as we seek to improve and strengthen our relationships with our tribal nation colleagues. And at the University of Minnesota's Institute on the Environment, and I'm actually just going to call it IonE from now on because we call it IonE within our team. With IonE, we envision a world in which sustainable agricultural feeds the world, renewable energy powers healthy homes, efficient transportation, and flourishing businesses are everywhere, and every person has access to food, water, shelter, clean, healthy oceans, lakes, and rivers. Communities have vibrant economies, neighborhoods, and cultures, and that we have thriving ecosystems to support flourishing economies and societies. We are really wanting to envision a more sustainable world in all factors of our societies globally. And so that leads us to the IonE Postdoctoral Fellowship Program. The goal of IonE Postdoctoral Fellowship Program is to accelerate the transition to this future by supporting breakthrough research across disciplines, developing the next generation of global leaders, and transforming partnerships across the state, region, and the globe to achieve those shared goals. IonE Postdoctoral Fellows are pretty unique. IonE Postdoctoral Fellows are interdisciplinary, they're community engaged, they're team players, they're visionary leaders, and they're impact focused. And so that means that fellows define success by the impact that they have in the world. And so that's important to stress because this is not academia as usual. Our career scientists like Jennifer and Nfamara are redefining the role of academia in service to society. Our impact entrepreneurship and leadership development programs are unique within higher education and are preparing the next generation of change agents, including our IonE Postdoctoral Fellows. And our entire community of over 230 fellows, researchers, educators, staff, and students in partnership with external collaborators are working every day to make the world a better place. And that's because we deeply believe that the future is not set in stone. Together, we create that future, and we create that through the decisions that we make as a society and the scientific evidence that we provide in order to empower people to make more sustainable choices and decisions. And so with that, let me pass it to Famara, who will describe a little bit about how the launch of our IonE Postdoctoral Fellowship Program.
I describe it as a phenomenal interdisciplinary cohort-based fellowship that I've ever seen. Actually, last year we started accepting applications, which was actually the launching of this phenomenal program at the Institute and the Environment. And currently we have 13 fellows that are part of this cohort-based. They work together in projects where they share, project-related activities and also learn together in an interdisciplinary form. Last year alone, we received over 200 applications. These applications were coming from all across the world, from the United States, from Africa, Asia, Latin America. This year, we're expecting even more because of the branding has increased. A lot of attention has been given to this program. So we encourage you to carefully craft your application, write it well, make sure that you understand. We read every single sentence in your application. This is how we review and how we take this process very seriously. So we are attracting the best out of the rest that are out there. Thank you.
And to Famara's point, the goal of this webinar is to provide you with tips and tricks for applying to our 2024 to 2026 IonE Postdoctoral Fellowship Program. It is a 2-year program, hence the 2-year window there. Melissa, Famara, and I want to share a bit about what works and what doesn't when applying. And everything we share here today is based on things that we observed last year during the review process. We're going to set this up like a question and answer session amongst ourselves. And so let's dive right in. What are the basic things that someone should do to ensure that their application is more favorably reviewed?
I feel like it shouldn't need to be said, but I'll say it anyway, just because we want to make sure it's really obvious. Like, make sure that you're following instructions. There's a number of people who put their position at a significant disadvantage because they haven't followed instructions. They have spelling or grammatical errors, or they used an AI-based system to generate their essays. And so we want to learn about you. We don't want to know what a computer thinks about you. And so please, like, apply and tailor your answers to your own personal experiences. Palmer, what do you think? You read a bunch of these last year as well.
Yeah, just to be very specific, specificity here is very important. That is giving examples of your own life experience, the work that you've done. So describe it well, because like you said, these days AI is common, but we can tell if you use AI. It cannot bring that specificity and that originality in what you do and what you say. So try as much as you can to bring in live, live experiences from the work that you've done. Incredible work. Describe it in your own words. I think you'll make it. Thanks.
And I'll just add before we move on that it needs to be clear why this particular fellowship and IonE itself is important for you, your goals, your interests. I mean, make it obvious that this is the right fellowship for you. And that will really help your application shine.
Well, imagine that in the application process, of course, we have keywords that you are supposed to provide. Maybe you are somebody like me, you have an interdisciplinary background, you have so many keywords that relates to the work that you do. How should we think about these keywords? I'm going to ask my colleague scientists here to tell us, to give you responses on how you should think about responding to those keywords. Thank you.
Don't stress. Number one, don't stress over it. We know 8 is not enough. We know that it can be difficult. That is not our intention with them.
I think, when we put in these keywords, it's similar to keywords that you're putting in with a peer review paper. You're not going to be able to encompass the depth of what you developed in that peer review paper with a couple of keywords. But what it does is it helps us to sort and identify people with certain sets of skills that might align more closely with researchers within our IonE community that are doing particular kinds of work. And we ask you to share keywords about two things. One is where you already have expertise and proficiency, because we're curious about that. Those are superpowers that we want to know about and leverage as part of an IonE postdoctoral fellowship. The other is what you want to learn. And sometimes that's because you want to gain greater proficiency in things that you already do well. Sometimes it's because you want to do something new and different as part of this IonE postdoctoral fellowship. And so as an IonE postdoctoral fellow, like everyone's like leaning in both to their superpowers and deploying what they're proficient at, and doing something that's like a learning and growth edge. And we're curious, given your long-term career goals, what's of greatest interest to you, and how you would identify your particular areas of learning or of expertise, and you're selecting from a wide range. And I guess one other thing with that is that every once in a while you're like, but they don't have the thing that I do best. And there is a category that says other. And so please use that liberally to add in things that you don't see represented, but are superpowers that you bring, or something that you really want to learn that you don't see embedded in the keywords. We don't claim to have included everything that encompasses the kinds of skills that we might be looking for. And we actually made some deliberate choices to leave a few things off because we didn't want to make a couple hundred word list of keywords, and we tried to keep it tight to less than 50. So please use that other category if you feel like something is missing.
So basically it's keywords about past work experience, skill sets, but also it can be keywords about what you are interested in learning or doing. So what perhaps could be part of the motivations of why you're coming into an interdisciplinary team. So this is all related. So at the end of the day, you have to prioritize. So as you know, there are many things that you can do, but just prioritize the few that would matter the most to you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Nfamara, for emphasizing that, because we aren't looking for essays with keywords, but we are trying to learn a little bit more about you in a short form. So maybe I can ask the next question. So we get this question every once in a while, which is, what do you all mean by interdisciplinary scholarship, and like what kind of evidence do you want to see? Do I already have to be like really great at this in order to be eligible for this particular fellowship program?
Jennifer, go for it.
Sure. We want you to describe ways that you have previously worked with others in other disciplines, in other areas of expertise, in other spaces, maybe even, even outside of academia, but really thinking about how have you tried to bring a variety of lenses to your work and get other perspectives in your work thus far?
Well, for me, IonE is a unique institution in that we're designed to be interdisciplinary. So that's how we're designed to be interdisciplinary, and we take that very, very seriously. And what is unique about it to me is the impact-driven work that informs our research, and that is a process through which we're not just focused on academia as business as usual. We care about scientific publications and findings, but ultimately we care about working with communities, so non-academic partners, to co-design, co-develop methodologies and come up with research solutions. that feed into policy and programming. So that's very unique. You
Mm.
don't get to experience that in many places. So that's what makes IonE a distinct and a very important institution to work with if you care about societal changes and transformations through research and science.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and to build on that, Famara, like, you know, interdisciplinary isn't just like a hook that we use. It's actually really critical to really solving and thinking through different solution pathways for a more sustainable future. Like if you're working on problems, there's not a single discipline or technological solution or policy lever that is like the golden ticket that solves everything. We need people with expertise from different disciplines within the university in partnership with people outside of the university in order to actually understand the problem in the system that we're trying to, you know, explore, and then to think creatively about some of the solution pathways and what barriers to knowledge, leadership, or storytelling that we're running into in order to actually achieve the larger sustainability goal that we're aiming for. And so it's a yes and kind of thing. It's always something where yes, we are interdisciplinary, and it's something that's quite unique about what we do it within IonE. And it's in part because you simply cannot solve sustainability challenges without bringing these interdisciplinary lenses, which
Yeah.
might be a good segue into our next question, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Well, I want to make one point though before we
Yeah.
transition, and that's if you've not done interdisciplinary work, but
Oh,
you
yes.
want to, and this postdoc, you view it as your opportunity to break from a traditional mold that frankly is very common and has its own importance in the world, but you've realized you want to pivot into the interdisciplinary space. That is okay. You just need to be really clear in your application why that pivot is so important and how you view this as that opportunity for you to do that. And then we will welcome you with open arms.
Yeah.
It's totally true. We have IonE postdoctoral fellows right now that were very disciplinary scientists before they came here, and we have ones whose expertise is truly interdisciplinary, and we're really excited to work with both.
Okay. So the next question, what do you mean by community engaged scholarship? Who is a community?
Well, I think short of I that this answer to discussion, or my early intervention touches on some of the elements to this question, but essentially the community is the non-academic partners in my type of work that I do, and that includes local NGOs, it includes government agencies, it includes international organizations, right? And but I think this is critical, like I said, from the way we are designed to bring research and policy and practitioners together. So that interface is very unique, where you can interact with communities to inform and learn and adjust your tools, your methods, and then the results become meaningful for their operations. So community is key in what we do. So thank you.
Yeah, and we don't really make a distinction of like, you know, the academics on the project and the community partner. When you hear us talk about like our project team, you know, oftentimes it's a very large project team that includes people both within and outside of the university, and that's because we oftentimes, with some exceptions, given particular kinds of projects that we might need to do where there's a little bit more differentiation, but in general, like people outside of the university are full project team members. They're bringing unique expertise, lived experiences, knowledge about implementation pathways, and they really ground our work in ways that are really critical to ensure that we're focused on things that will be societally impactful. And we can't do that work and have societally impactful work without this larger team. And so sometimes we get these questions that are like, Okay, so a community partner is anyone outside of the university. It's viewed in this very broad, expansive way. Do I have to have those like in my network before I can be an IonE postdoctoral fellow? And that answer is no. Part of the reason why we are actively embedding people in projects is because we know that a skill that oftentimes people need to develop during IonE postdoctoral fellowship is relationship management, project management, like network building, so that you can be embedded in projects where we have long standing relationships with clear impact pathways and be able to understand how those are navigated, and then be able to later on in your fellowship develop some of those by yourself, um and to identify some of the new pathways that we should be exploring, the new relationships. So you're not expected to come with those, you know, as part of your application process or necessarily have a tremendous amount of experience. We want to see that people are really interested in doing work and have a value system that acknowledges the like different ways of knowing that exists within our world, and appreciate that academia is only one of those ways of knowing, and it's no greater in benefit than any of the other kinds of expertise that exists within the world.
Well, talking about keywords, you've heard several statements the word impact, impactful. So I'm going to ask my colleagues to demystify that concept a little bit for you. What do you mean by impact? Our research director and senior scientist will tell you more about what we mean by impact. And someone is thinking, maybe is impact only through my research publications? Is that sufficient? What else should I include in my impact? How do you respond to that?
Yeah, it's an important one because this is an area, I think hopefully you've gathered this already, that it is central as researchers at IonE, that is our North Star, is having impact in the world. And so describing the impact you've had so far is important. And if that's been through research publications, that is a very common path through academia. We understand that, but also describing how you want to have impact, how you see expanding outside of research publications as your sole impact. If you've done work outside of the academic paper route, please make sure that that is evident in your application materials. It's one of the reasons we have the ability for you to add additional materials and to show us the breadth of the different sort of impact work that you've had.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're really like,
Our
yeah, well,
research director.
part of
Yes,
this
tell
is
us.
like, you all know, like, my question to everyone is not like who you want to be as a scientist or like how you want to be famous, but the kind of impact that you want to have in the world and the different pathways you need to achieve that, and what you need in terms of support from our broader team in order to achieve that, because that's actually a harder goal. It's actually a lot harder to have impact outside of the world, in the broader world, than the things that you can control within your universe. And one of the things that is really critical that we want every IonE postdoctoral fellow to come away with is both how to describe the societal impact that they are having in the world, but to be able to identify some of the pathways that they can explore in order to increase the likelihood that they will be successful. And so you don't have to have figured all of that out, but we do want to get a sense of what you want to achieve in the broader world, and what kind of pathways you have already explored or pursued or done in order to get there. So you don't have to like change someone's decision in order to be successful in this. Again, we have IonE postdoctoral fellows with lots of different superpowers, and some have already been doing this kind of impact focused work, and others, this is a completely new area of learning and growth that they're fully embracing as part of their fellowship. So another question that has been coming up every once in a while, which is that we've really emphasized IonE's focus on just and equitable, sustainable futures. And someone might be saying, I am too, but how do you want me to actually show that in my application? What are your all thoughts?
Well, this is critical. It's a component of DIJ, and we take that very seriously, from recruitment, staffing, to our research design, the way we design the questions, and who we design those questions with, and how we do that research, and who is the knowledge, who is the knowledge holder in this case is very important. So thinking about the voices of the voiceless in the design of what you do, previous works, thinking about even your interpersonal relationship and engagement with colleagues, whether at school, in your graduate studies, or you're part of an association where you promote certain elements of justice and equitable society, or whether it's advocacy to fight against certain injustices in your own community on a global scale. This could be climate advocacy, for example, calling out for loss and damage to be paid, which is a just and an equitable call. Or empowerment. The empowerment could be things, try to support people who do not have the means or not necessarily have enough capacity or resources to benefit from certain things. So if you're able to empower even this an individual, just give us examples. We are really, really excited about lived experiences and examples that you have done. So that would be my take on that question. It's a great question.
Well, yeah, and as Famara mentioned, I mean, the examples are what makes the application you and not someone else, and not AI generated, frankly. But also building off of the importance of indicating, yeah, your work and experience in the DEIJ space. Similarly, in the sustainability space, I mean, be clear with us on both realms. Like, your connections to it, but make sure that it's obvious to us what your connection is to DEIJ and to sustainability. You don't want us to guess. We want it to be so obvious that it's like, well, of course they're doing work in the sustainability space. There's so much room in this space for all of us. And we just want to be clear on what little piece that you're working on, because we all need to be working on it together.
Well, and actually, one of our current IonE postdoctoral fellows had never worked in sustainability, but wrote a really compelling essay about why they wanted to work in sustainability, even though they had never previously done anything. And it's someone that we ended up inviting to be part of our community, because they had skills and expertise that we were really excited about deploying in new ways, and realize that the topical expertise would be a growth and learning edge. So again, you don't have to have done everything in order to be eligible, but you do have to make it clear, like, why this is something of particular interest to you at this moment in time.
I'll take us to our next question. So we ask for additional materials or products. What counts as a product, and what are some of the kinds of things that we would like to see?
Well, I mean, yeah, go ahead, Famara.
It's a great question. Really excited. It's like, let's jump on it. No, but in my culture, when the director speaks, you should be silent. So I'll let you go. Just go for it. It's okay. Sometimes we bring in our culture to workplace also. So please.
I appreciate that, and also this is an equitable workplace, and we value all voices, and so I am no greater than anyone else that's a part of this conversation. But in respect of your culture, I would say
Thank
that we're not surprised when we see peer-reviewed papers. Like that's oftentimes something that you've spent a huge amount of time on that you're pretty proud of, that you want to share with us, to show the scholarship that you've pursued over a number of years. We're also really excited when we see materials that are beyond peer-reviewed papers, and those can look really different. Like sometimes it's data sets, code, artwork, like videos, policy briefs, like, abstracts, conference presentations, like quite know like what things will emerge as part of these materials, but the kinds of materials that you think show the impact that you've had in the world and your rigor of scholarship that you've pursued up to this point are things that help us to learn a little bit more about you in addition to your essays. Palmer, what do you have to add to that?
That was, I think you covered most of what we've been thinking about additional materials. Given that it's not academia, traditional, peer review papers, I think also thinking about things like story maps. You have been part of the community and you develop a story map. Send us those story maps. We want to go through them. I think they'll be useful. These days, people do ebooks. Ebooks are reports that are not, printed and published, but they are digital reports that have interactive features in them. We also have things like interactive knowledge platforms where you gather a collection of knowledge products. This could be papers, videos, reports, different kinds of knowledge materials can be archived online, and these are shared resources that you can share with us, and also share with us when you are sharing additional materials. Even like Melissa was talking about presentations, poster presentations from conferences that you attend. I think these are all additional and creative materials that would be useful.
And if some of these are
Thank
online,
you.
Jennifer, people can submit like a URL as part of the application process. So it doesn't have to just be a PDF.
Yeah, the additional materials, it can be a variety of formats to upload. So unfortunately, there's not like a box to put a URL, but you can put it in a Word document, describe the URL for us, and then put the URL, and I would upload it that way.
Thank you, Jennifer, for that clarification. So maybe you're thinking, when do I have to receive my PhD in order to be eligible? This is a capacity enhancement program, so which means that we really pay attention to the time of which you have received your PhD and how long you can stay with us, because we want you to transition and get to the next level of your career. So I'll ask our director if you could provide a specific time for this question.
Jennifer, I'm going to check with you about this, but I think you have to have gotten your PhD on or before December 31st, 2018.
Yep, that's it.
Is that right?
And we know that this narrows our pool of applicants. But as Famara mentioned, we want to support a transition through postdocs into the whatever career you want, not perpetuate perpetual postdocs. That's some of the reasoning behind this timeline. Also, we need to pick a date, and we just want to respect your time for applying, and just know that we're going to hold firm to this date. So unfortunately, if it was the day before, it's a cutoff limiting factor, and
we encourage you to look at our IonE employment website and see what opportunities are at IonE that might use your skills that you've developed over the past 5 years since PhD. And then the one other question we get with this is like people who haven't graduated yet, and whether or not they're eligible. And so I think with this is, if you are finishing up your PhD, yes, you can apply. Like, what we're looking for is people who would intend to graduate this calendar year, so sometime in 2024. So if your graduation date is intended to be sometime this fall 2024, this is the year that you are first eligible to apply. You're eligible to apply for 5 years post PhD as well, but your first year of eligibility is the calendar year in which you expect to receive your PhD. Unfortunately, people are not allowed to start IonE postdoctoral fellow positions until they have their PhD in hand. And so just keep that in mind as you're applying, and let us know if you have any personal questions related to eligibility because of graduation dates, or because we have a hard cutoff. We're hoping that there's a lot of clarity around whether or not there's eligibility given when you received your PhD. So there's the last question is, I have questions that weren't answered in this webinar. Is there a place where you're putting answers to common questions?
I'll jump in because I am often the ones putting the answers on the website. We do have an FAQ section on our website. So if you have a question, please check those out. And if you don't see your answer, or if there's something that's more personal, you can send us an email at IonE dash research, RESEARCH at umn.edu. And we'll get back to you. And if we get enough of them, we may then turn it into an FAQ, not with your personal question, of course, but with that general information. So we encourage you to use that.
And we are doing everything we can to make sure that we respond to those questions through emails that we are receiving. So we ask some, understanding as we respond to those questions because of other things that are happening. But just be rest assured that we will respond to every question that is sent to our way. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. And thank you so much for joining us today. Please check out the IonE Postdoctoral Fellowship application and website for more information, resources, and for information about future webinars. We really are super excited about seeing your applications and for you helping us to have a really difficult decision to make. In case it's helpful, our website for the IonE Postdoctoral Fellows Program is z.umn.edu/IONE/postdoc/fellows. Remember, our applications are due March 11th, 2024. Thank you so much. We expect that you are creating wonderful things in this world, and we are so excited to learn about those things and so excited to learn more about you when you submit your application. Thanks so much.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you all. Bye.